Hello Keystone, Mr. Gerry here for the third installment of your keyboard class. Now, we last left off with lesson 7 that showed us the chord progressions and the different patterns on how to play those chord progressions. The chord progression for 1A, if you remember, was just going from the C major to the D minor to the E minor to the F major to the G major to the A minor to the B diminished and ending on the octave C. But now when we took that and we added the left hand pattern of number 2, where you play the root tone on beat number 1, and we learned in order to play all 8 notes of the octave, we went fingers 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we brought our third finger over the middle finger and finished with A, B, and C like that. So that pattern, chord pattern 1A with the bass left hand pattern in number 2 went like and then the pattern for 3 was when the left hand only played on beat number 1 like this. And the pattern in number 4 had the left hand playing on beats 1 and 3, with the right hand doing the chord on 2 and 4 that sounded like this. And we always end with everything playing together. And number 5 was that kind of classical sounding where we arpeggiated the entire chord that sounded like. And again, always end with everything. Well, what I wanted to do today was to go over to your songbook and show you how you can apply those patterns to the different songs. So in your songbook, the first song that you have, of course, is just the one chord songs, such as Are You Sleeping? And that's followed by Row, Row, Row Your Boat and The Farmer in the Dell. So what you can do is you apply those different patterns to these songs. Now, the one chord song lets you focus on your left hand and again getting both hands working together. So Are You Sleeping would sound like this with bass pattern 2, where your left hand is playing the bass on beat number 1 and your right hand is playing all 4 beats of the quarter note, and it sounds like this. Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping? Brother John, Brother John. Morning bells are ringing, morning bells are ringing. Ding, ding, dong, ding, ding, dong. And if you were to apply the pattern in 3, where the left hand plays by itself, it would then sound like this. Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping? Brother John, Brother John. Morning bells are ringing, morning bells are ringing. Ding, ding, dong, ding, ding, dong. And then all together. And if you were to apply the pattern in 4, it would then sound like this. Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping? Brother John, Brother John. Morning bells are ringing, morning bells are ringing. Ding, ding, dong, ding, ding, dong. And the pattern in number 5 would then make the song sound like this. Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping? Brother John, Brother John. Morning bells are ringing, morning bells are ringing. Ding, ding, dong, ding, ding, dong. So you see, you get to decide of all those different rhythmic patterns, what pattern do you think, makes it sound the way you'd like to hear it? And that's the cool thing about just having chord charts, is that you get to determine how you want to play the song. Now, when we skip over to Row, Row, Row Your Boat and Farmer in the Dell, which would be all the same thing with the one chord patterns, I want you to practice all those and make sure you spend time to work on all those different rhythm patterns to apply to those songs. Now you get to the next song, which is He's Got the Whole World in His Hands. And believe me, he does. Even with all this craziness going on right now, he still is in control of everything. So He's Got the Whole World in His Hands has two chords for the song. And so the first chord is the C chord, which we all know. Now, when you look at the bottom of the page, you'll see that the G7 chord, we're not going to go G, D, F, G, like there, and go up to this G up here and then wonder what the 7's all about. I'm going to tell you what the 7's about. Really, what we do is we take the C chord, and don't tell anyone, but we really move it down to the B diminished. Because our left hand supplies the G note, remember the bass note here. So a 7 chord is simply a chord that has a root, which is played by the left hand now, and the third, which is now played by our right hand thumb, and the fifth, which is our right hand middle finger. But now we have the 7th note of the chord added. So we have 1, 3, 5, 7, and that's why it's called a 7 chord, because you just take the regular major chord, which, as you remember, is a root and a third and a fifth, or the whatever, major minor chords, and you then add the 7th note to it. So in this song, if you were to play pattern 2, where the left hand plays on beat 1, the song would sound like this. He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 You see? And what we do here is, again, we're learning how to do independent things with our right and left hands. The right hand is simply going to move one series of notes to the left to play that B diminished chord, which is part of our G7. And then it's going to move to the right to go back to our C chord. And in the left hand, we have the C under your pinky and the G under your thumb. Because remember, we're always practicing playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with our fingers and notes. So that's why we want to keep our hands in the same position and just move the fingers. In pattern 3, where the left hand plays the root on beat 1, it would now sound like this. He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 And when you put beat or rhythm number 4, where it rocks back and forth, it would sound like this. He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 And pattern 5 would sound like this. He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 Now you can pick which one you think fits the song best. I particularly like number 4, where it goes, he's got the whole world in his hands. 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 And so the next song is another song that just uses the C and the G7 chord, and that's The Wheels on the Bus. And you can practice that one as well. But just to give you more time to practice and not to have these these video lessons go too long. This is Mr. Gerry, just telling everybody I certainly would love to hear from you again. And I did figure out a way to do this. Now, when you're watching these videos and you would like a copy, if you don't have the copy of the lesson, just email me. And then what I can do is just send you that lesson as an attachment so that you can see it again if you either don't have it, wherever it is. So, get a hold of me. You know how to call me or get a hold of me through the Keystone website, and the emails like that. That's Gerry@KeystoneMontessori.com, something like that. So let me hear from you as far as again any requests for having me send the lesson sheets, or if there's a particular song you would like me to do and to show you through these lessons. Well, thank you. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you all again next week.